How I started calisthenics was in 2009. I was a 17-year-old teenager on YouTube, and I came across this workout video of a guy called Zef Zakaveli. He was doing muscle-ups. He was doing typewriter pull-ups, countless reps on the bodyweight basics such as your dips and push-ups. I was awestruck by this superhuman strength, incredible physique, and I knew this was something that I wanted to try. So I went to the calisthenics park and I was humbled by how difficult it was. I could barely do any reps on these exercises. I was doing half range of motion and I was probably kipping there too, but I wanted to continue to learn. So I went to the Barbarian forums, which was created by Zef. And this was a place, a community where we could learn about calisthenics, how to use correct technique, increase our reps, and be involved with different challenges that would push us to the next level. I then went on to create FitnessFAQs, and the rest is history. I'm excited to chat with the man that helped me start it all, Zef Zakaveli.
Oh, thank goes to you, bro, for the acknowledgement, man, and coming back, man, and checking on the old man and seeing how I'm doing, man. It's been a long time, man.
So times were obviously very different back when you first started. There wasn't social media and all this. How did you get into calisthenics?
Whew. Well, I got into calisthenics by punishment by my brother. You know, that was his form of getting rid of me by making me do push-ups. So that's how I started. My first introduction into calisthenics was the push-ups, and that was from my brother. Um, throughout my years, I didn't train like from a child to a man right now. So of course I did normal things that kids do, you know, you name it, BMX, skateboard, whatever. So I would say strictly calisthenics, just to jump straight into it, was 1996. That's when it became like strictly calisthenics for me. I dabbled with the weights, with the weight training, because I had older friends, like grown men, and that's everyone, you know, if you want to get jacked, you lift weights. So I would follow and try to hang with them. But in the meantime, you know, what was easier for me was obviously the calisthenics. It was more of a competitive thing with me. So from 1996, I never looked back as far as to go back to weight training.
You're well known for the high rep stuff. What draws you to the endurance side of calisthenics?
Let me ask you, because you knew me from way back when I started. Is that something that you noticed from back then? The high rep
Oh, for
stuff?
sure. Yeah, because when you first start, you realize how humbling and difficult it is to do 6 full range of motion pull-ups and 20 unbroken push-ups as an absolute beginner. And seeing you do double, triple, quadruple the numbers in all of the bodyweight basics, pull-ups, muscle-ups, dips, push-ups, was crazy. And the flashy stuff with like a bit of the freestyle that you were doing, a bit of flair, is like icing on the cake. But for me, I particularly resonated with the basics because something about it, I just saw that it required so much effort and dedication to do it. Not taking anything away from the freestyle, but there's just something a bit different about those basics where you've got to lock in your mind and push beyond everything that's telling you to stop.
That's very interesting, because most people today, that's all they reference me as, you know, reps and sets, because you see how times change and now there's categories when it comes to calisthenics. Now, before it was just strictly just calisthenics. That's all you did. It was the freestyle came, I say, like shortly after, but I was never known for, you know, I, at the time I could possibly say, like you said, it was high volume, but you know, that was like 20, 30 pull-ups, 50 dips back then. That's not high volume at all today, as you can see. So that's good to speak to someone that known me from a decade ago, and to say that.
Yeah, so what draws you to doing the basic exercises as opposed to like doing heavy 1 rep max weighted calisthenics, street lifting, doing freestyle where you're doing crazy combinations? You tend to stick to the more basic movements.
Yes, because that's why I'm able to do it for this long. You know, those complex movements, those tricky stuff. I did that when I was younger. You understand? I feel like I really don't have that much to prove, and the risk to the reward doesn't match up. So, and I'm still very competitive. So each rep that we do, most of the times in our workout, it becomes like a point system. So your reps are your points, and your breaking is also it minus those points. So to me, it's just more of a competitive thing, and for me to actually stay fit. And I notice the way that I train now, as you can see from then to now, my physique has changed dramatically.
Do you have any tips for people that are trying to improve their endurance? Because you do need to approach your training very differently.
Yes, yes. I would say it really depends on your goal. If you want to do it just for today, and it's just a fad thing that you're going for, or you're looking for the long road, like me, for instance, you want to do it later on when you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and your 60s. I would say to pace yourself. Don't just rush out and try to do what you just saw in the video on IG or YouTube. Pace yourself. It took time to build up that endurance. It's not going to come overnight.
So rest days are valuable. There's not people look at what you do, they might think, this guy must be training every day as hard as he possibly can to get to that level. Is that not the truth?
At at a younger age, in my 20s, in my late teens, I would train 3 times a day. I did.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome.
Now I train. Sometimes I would train twice a day. Now I train once every 4 days, and most of the time when it's convenient. You know, so you do slow down, but it's like you said, it's a rest time. It's being smart. I learned how to train much smarter now, and my injuries decreased dramatically from doing that.
And of course, when if you're training every 4 days, I imagine you're doing most of the movements in the one workout. You're pushing and pulling in one go, maybe your combination exercises where if you were to train every day, you've probably got more luxury of doing, I'm going to go hard on my push-ups and dips. And then the next day it's going to be all pulling.
That's usually how it goes. That's usually how it goes. I try to balance it now because my workouts are much less than before. So I have to make the most of my workout because I'm not sure if I'm going to have the time the next day to work out. So I try to do as much as I can in one day. But usually, some days are a push heavy day and some days are a lot of pulls, so I make up for that the following session.
I'm curious because not many people get to your point of having worked out for multiple decades. It's a really admirable goal that we should all strive for, to keep this going long term. It's not just about hitting a peak in your 20s and then just getting injured, burnt out, and never doing it again. I think that people that are going into their 40s and 50s still working out, we should really draw a lot of inspiration from that, because it's something we should all strive for. How do your goals change over time? Because I imagine that your reason for why you work out is probably different as you get older.
Oh, it definitely is. Before, uh, when I first started, I was just doing it to show how strong I am, and again, I was looking for competition. What motivates me today is to maintain and keeping up with the younger guys. I train with guys in their 20s and 30s, so that motivates me. Some days I can't. Honestly, some days they understand that, but they know some days, I kick their ass too. So I pick my poison sometimes. I know like I could go hard right now, pause and really finish this set, but I want to work out tomorrow. You understand? I want to work out the following day too, and I don't want to tap out those days. So I'm gonna just chill right now. Um, that's basically what it changes. My goals change every season. Some days I may want to concentrate more on my form, or I look at my old videos and I would see my form like, oh, my form used to be so much better because my mobility was way better. But then I look at my physique and I was much more skinnier back then than I am now. So yeah, they changed. They changed. See, every year I would set out a new goal. Like, I want to practice some new elements. I want to bring back some of the freestyle moves that people forgot that I'm known for. Um, and then sometimes I just want to maintain, or I want to get out of my comfort zone and I'll try someone else's training.
That's the same thing that I hear from other vets that have been in the game, whatever it is, their discipline. You have to have something that you're pursuing. The idea of, oh, I'm just going to maintain for the rest of time. It's you almost get into this like complacent mindset and you don't push yourself as hard. And then if you're in that zone for too long, you've become like out of love with training and it becomes a chore. Whereas, yeah, hearing you say that you have new seasons, new goals, or you pick up things that you've left away, like skill wise or whatever, it just keeps you like in that like beginner mindset almost of just that enthusiasm to go to the park and have fun as well.
Yes, 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 definitely. That's how I keep it fun, and that's always been the plan from the beginning, from the start. Barbarians, all the routines been fun. They all been formatted as like a game, if you would say, to finish, and that's how it still is to this day.
We have a different definition of fun. Other people would be crying and in lots of discomfort, but we love this stuff. And one of the first things that set the Barbarians apart from other upcoming calisthenics groups was the Barbarian Requirements. Can you talk me about
Oh,
the inception of this, Zef?
oh man, the BBRs. It's hard to when I speak about the barbarians period, it's hard to be humble because I'm so proud and so much that we accomplished and so many things and that we trend set it on. And the requirements is one of those things and still is. Um, today, today it turned into an event now. So it's a separate event that I hold just for the requirements. Um, how it started, there was a few groups starting out, and I noticed that their members, it was more of a like a gang to me. Like they just recruit anyone there, and they didn't really care about their their brand at the time. Even though I didn't consider it a brand, I always wanted it to be more of like a family, like a brotherhood. So that being said, you can't just have anyone that just has a back and be able to do a couple pulls to be, you call him your brother. That person has to represent you too and your ideals. So we came up with something uh, physically first at the time. It was all about you have to be strong enough to be down with us. That was the first step when it came to the requirements. You know, through the years, it changed and developed into something else that was more than just a physical thing. But at the beginning, it was more of a physical test that you had to pass to be able to be a barbarian.
It's interesting how times have changed because we all know now that there's a lot of in schools, there's no scores kept and everyone's a winner and we celebrate it. And there was something awesome about the Barbarian Requirements for me where it was challenging and it really pushed you and it differentiated the ones that did the work from those that didn't. And you could say that that's excluding people, but then you could also look at it as it filtered out the people that were truly dedicated.
That's the word.
Because I didn't get there the first week, the first month. I think it took me over a year to finally complete the Barbarian Requirements. And when I first finished it, it wasn't even as hard as it is now. So as you said, there was different requirements. Can you talk us through the first numbers of Barbarian Requirements?
It was 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes. It was, I believe, 40 dips. 25 pull-ups, I believe, and 50 push-ups, if I'm not mistaken. Then 5 muscle-ups. I think that was it.
So that was the original one,
That
and
was
I
the
was
original.
striving for that, and I was close to getting it. And then I kid you not, it was that month that Zeph's like, you know what, we need to make this a bit harder. So that
Yeah.
you put 5 muscle ups at the start, and then you increase the other numbers to what? So it's 5 muscle ups.
We didn't I think we shortened the time first. We shortened the time, then we increased the number. Because I think we shortened it to 8 minutes and then 6 minutes, I believe. Yeah, 6 minutes. We increased the numbers on the 6 minutes. Sorry, on we increased the numbers on the 6 minutes and then we just dropped it to 5 minutes. So then at some point, I can't remember what timing the muscle ups came first and at the end, because it was becoming kind of easy to do. And
Yeah, yeah,
I do believe the requirements is what really boost our volume up, actually.
100%. Yeah. So these days, the Barbarian requirements are 5 muscle ups, 50 dips, 30 pull ups, 60 push ups, 5 muscle ups, all in under 5 minutes.
Yes.
And each of those exercises has to be unbroken if it
Un,
wasn't hard
un,
enough for you already.
unbroken with pristine form. The form has to be
Yeah.
A1. That's the most important thing about the requirements. And that became the real filter, was the form. So people got strong enough to do those numbers, but it was the form. That was the real filter.
And that was something that I'm so grateful for yourself, Zeph, and just the barbarian mentality is the importance of technique. Make your first rep look like your last rep. Make your last rep look like your first rep. And doing that for every exercise, just it forces you to progress with quality.
Exactly.
So when you're doing the different bodyweight basics, what does full range of motion and good technique look like on a pull up, push up, dip?
Mm. It changed through the course of time. It changed because I learned that it's more of a control thing, because I noticed that every movement, every range has a purpose. So ideal is always going to be full round. Ideal is going to be full round. Not so much that you hyperextending and you blocking out to the point where you breaking your joints, but ideally full round on everything is good form to me, or I would say goal form to me.
And you can quite honestly tell the difference between good and bad form. It comes down to like the speed of the rep, whether you're close to locking out your joints compared to just like quarter reps. It
Mhm.
should be obvious what's
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
good
def-
versus bad form.
definitely. Like I said, sometimes the routine may call for short reps, but you have to know, when it's time to put on the full and to do the short. And you got to know for yourself what's bad and what's good. Some people would do the bad reps or shaky reps, short reps, and consider that the same as a person doing good complete form. That's the
Yeah,
bad
for
thing.
sure.
You should know, like, yeah, my reps were a little bit suspect, but you want me to turn on and do the good reps or full reps or ideal reps, I can. That this exercise calls for this, this routine calls for that.
What are your thoughts on people that get afraid of high volume calisthenics? Because we're often in the park for multiple hours. We're doing thousands of reps sometimes. What do you say to people that are afraid of overtraining with calisthenics?
Hmm. There is a possibility that you can overtrain, but if you're doing it correctly, it's nothing really to fear but soreness. Most people, they always ask me like, how many times do you train? You don't have a rest day? Don't you worry about getting hurt? How do you deal with the soreness? To me, if I don't work out the next day, the soreness would really kick in. Like I work out sometimes to get rid of the soreness. So With calisthenics, I don't think you could really overtrain. Your body will tell you when it's time to chill.
Yeah, and it's a different discipline to say lifting weights where you
Yes,
can load up heavy on the bench press and really destroy yourself in that whatever rep range that you want. Whereas with calisthenics, we've got so many luxuries. You can just do your body weight instead of adding weight to your body, or
exact,
you can just modify how many reps you're doing in a set.
exactly. And that's what I tell people all the time. This is not weight training. This is calisthenics. Like I said, when I was younger, I would train 3 times a day, 3 times a day. I would I would work out early. This is when I had no real responsibilities. I
The
would,
golden years, that's
yeah,
it.
I would drive. If I see a park, if I see someone working out in the park, I would pull over and go in the park and work out and maybe run them out the park and just go about my way, go to another park and do it all over again. And I never experienced any sort of injuries or really bad fatigue the next day or anything. If anything, I felt more charged to do it again the next day. And I'm talking about
Yeah,
8 hour sessions, 6 hour sessions.
true. And it's given that we can do so many reps on these bodyweight basics, if you're failing a set of pull ups on 30 reps, you rest for a few minutes, you might do 25 and you can go again and do like 22. Like it's very different in the respect that you can become like a workhorse and just do so many sets again and again and again. Rarely you're going to be at the point where, oh, I'm so tired and overtrained, I can't do a single pull up or a single push up with this. I'm sure if you did a full workout, rested an hour, you could do it like a lot again.
Yes,
Won't be as
yeah.
much as before, but still a lot.
Yes, and that happened. What would happen is you would get tired from doing the pull-ups and then you'll recharge by doing some push-ups. And vice versa, you'll go to the neutral grip pull-ups and then you'll go do some dips and you could go back and forth all day, and that's what we used to do.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. So introducing variation on those same exercises can just keep you going. So you start
Yes.
with wide grip pull-ups, that's the hardest exercise. Then you could go to even a shoulder width pull-up, which is mechanically easier. You can go to a supinated chin-up and then the neutral grip. It's just the amount that you can do with this, so much.
Yes. And that's how we charged up too. Exactly how you said. And then we'll just start right back from the top and go back to the wide pull-ups. Or
And I'm sure you've done the same with push-ups. You can do some like the hardest variation that you could do, say it's on the floor with a deep stretch, and you could finish off with some incline push-ups. So when
Mhm.
you thought you were done with the normal push-ups, nah, baby, this is calisthenics.
Exactly. And then you implement the holes. We do the statics. It's never ending. That's the beauty of calisthenics compared to weight training.
For sure. And now, for people that are excited to pursue calisthenics, what are some goals that they can work towards in terms of rep numbers for all the basics, pull-ups, push-ups, dips, unbroken?
I would say the requirement numbers. But the best way I would say to train for those numbers is by doing pyramids. This way I trick all my clients, all the beginners, all my students into doing high numbers by doing pyramids. The first pyramid that I taught was the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 back down to 2, and I tricked them into doing 50 push-ups. Because if you ask most beginners, like, I want you to do 50 pull-ups, they hear that and like, oh, I mean push-ups, they go crazy. But if you tell them, okay, do 2 push-ups, okay, 4 push-ups, 6, 8, back down to 2, like you just did 50 push-ups, and they always look in amazement. So I would say the ideal, the numbers that you should be able to hit is 50 push-ups. You should be able to do 50 push-ups. You should be able to do 30 pull-ups. You should be able to do 60 dips. I don't stress too much on doing muscle ups. Muscle ups is a completely different conversation about muscle ups.
Yeah, it almost comes for free from doing your work on the other stuff.
Yes, people today, I remember when I started, you would see no one doing muscle ups. I would be one of the few people doing muscle ups in the park. Now, today, you see people doing muscle ups that can't even do 10 consecutive pull ups. which is crazy.
Yeah, it blows my mind too. It's like trying to sprint before you can walk type of thing.
Exactly, exactly. So I say those numbers today, those numbers are, I would say, should be standard or something to aspire to. Once you get those numbers, you're good. You don't need to get 100 push-ups. You don't need to get 50 pull-ups, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
because I see guys today, some of the new guys, they going into the realm of 100 pull-ups. I saw 95 pull-ups the other day.
The standard online now is just absolutely blowing my mind. What I saw with you when I first started was up here, and then to think that people are doing double what you were doing, it's
Yeah,
insane, man. It's
yeah,
insane.
exactly. Like the God set, for instance, that was the 50 pull-ups and the 50 straight bar dips. Now that was 2014, I believe. Yes, that was 2014. Um, and at the time, yeah, no one was doing 50 pull-ups like that, period. So that's how that came about, because I tried and trained so hard for the 50 pull-ups to get them a decent 50, a Zef approved 50. And after I got that, I thought to myself, like, what would be even more like over the top? Like, what would really put it there? And that was to do the straight bar dips after.
What's impossible about that for myself and the average person is not only have you just done 50 consecutive pull-ups, you have to do a muscle up to get to the top of the bar to even do your dips. So that's the barrier for many people to even begin to think of doing the God set.
Exactly, exactly. And notice I left the muscle up part out. I never count the muscle up unless it's 5 muscle ups or better. So the muscle up is just the movement to get above the bar for that situation. So that's something like you have to be in mind too. You have to be able to muscle up to do those 50 bar dips at the top.
Now, those numbers you just mentioned before with the bodyweight basics, I'm sure you apply that to everyone, regardless of their age, height, gender, and stuff. For motivation purposes, I'm sure you've seen really tall and heavy guys accomplish that, and then also women, I'm sure, right?
Yes, yes. Not too many women. It's only a few women that I see locally that can do certain numbers. I see a few overseas, but as far as men of all ages and all size, yes, yes. Like I train with a guy, a close friend, my brother Mano, and he's like 6'2", 6'3", and he's over 200. Maybe he's like 190 now because he's been fasting a lot. And he does everything I do and more. He keeps up with my numbers. He doesn't let that get in the way. He doesn't use that as an excuse like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a heavyweight. I can't be doing the stuff you do. He keeps up with me, and he outdoes me. He outworks me sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand that bodyweight stuff is harder for taller and heavier people. But as you just said, I never use that as excuse myself. So I'm 183 centimeters, around 6 foot tall, and 84, 85 kilos, which is like 190 pounds.
Mhm.
And of course, you could look at that and be like, if I was shorter and lighter, it would be easier to move my body through range. But part of me was always like, that's the blessing. It's the fact that it is harder. It's so much more rewarding to hit those numbers and somewhat hang with the younger people, the shorter people, the lighter people as well.
Exactly. There's another guy, Jomo, and that's Mano's inspiration. And if you see his muscle ups, and I nickname him the Mountain. His muscle ups is so clean, and you would never think that's a heavyweight. And he's 200 plus, 6 feet 1, 6 feet 2 also. And that's the way he trained also. That was his mindset, that he would never think of himself as a heavyweight. He always think like, I'm gonna keep up with these guys. Because if I could keep up with them, then I'm really strong. I'm really doing it.
Today's show sponsor is FitnessFAQs. Do you want to learn how to master calisthenics? FitnessFAQs has the best workout programs from beginner to advanced level. Use the coupon code podcast10 at checkout to save 10% off when shopping at fitnessfaqs.com. How do you look at weighted calisthenics? When do you introduce it? And if so, how do you use it?
Now I stay away from weighted calisthenics because
purist.
yeah, I stay away from
body weight only.
Yes, and that's not because I'm against it. It's just because at this stage in my life, it's too risky. The last couple of times that I got injured very badly was from doing weighted. So to me now, the most that I would do is one plate, 45 pounds, that's 20 kilos. That's the most I would do, whether it's dips or pull-ups now. I would suggest that when you're able to get those numbers that I mentioned earlier, weight training is good during like I would say like the off season, like the winter time when you're trying to gain your strength up and build your mass is no problem. I'm all for it. I have a lot of routines that do weighted. I don't do them anymore, but I do suggest that and implement that in my training with my students.
I think it's a good idea if you want to be well-rounded to do both, because you just get different attributes from doing heavier weighted calisthenics for low reps, complementing with your bodyweight stuff for higher reps. And yeah, like you said, off season, great time to use it. If you want a new challenge, if you've been grinding away at endurance for a really long time, it can be refreshing to set some new goals.
Yes.
But I don't think you can be as reckless with the weighted calisthenics as you can with the bodyweight stuff.
I beg to differ. I did I did a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing that I would definitely wouldn't do now with the weighted. Like to me, weighted muscle ups, to me, that's kind of risky. But yeah, you can do it. There's ways to do it, but it does keep you strict. It keeps you disciplined to a certain extent. It really does.
I imagine the overtraining might be more of a reality with the weighted calisthenics, because you're starting out with your heavy sets of 5, and then you'll take off a plate, and then you'll do a moderate rep range, and then you'll take off another plate, and you'll do high reps, then you'll take off the weight, and then just burn out with your body weight. So instead of just doing high rep bodyweight calisthenics and then dropping down, you're starting with the weighted stuff. And I can imagine how that could be quite reckless.
Yes. The way how we train with the weight, we'll do everything with the weight and then double without the weight, and then go right back into it and like seesaw.
Oh wow. Okay. This is what I was missing by not being in in New York.
Yeah, so everything that we do without the weight, we do with the weight, and vice versa, and go back and forth. Especially now with the pull-ups with that weight vest that you're able to put the plate on. Yeah, we was doing a lot of crazy stuff with that.
What are some of your most impressive weighted calisthenics PRs? Do you remember any of those, like rep or 1 rep max?
A full plate pull. That's 4 times the 20.
At a body weight of what, for people listening?
Oh, I probably was like 150.
Jesus,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's wild.
That's something important to note, because I'm lifting double, sometimes half of my body weight or more with the dips. With the dips, I think I did a 5 plate dip. I'm not sure. Definitely 4 plate dips. Everything is documented though. That's the great thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, those 4 plate pull was definitely my PR. I actually wanted to get into the Guinness for that, and when I trained for that, I got injured. Every time I trained for the Guinness, I got injured. So that's what really let me know, like, maybe it's not for me, or I missed my time.
The same thing happened with Lee Wade Turner when he was going for the ring muscle up record.
The way
also, like, injured his wrist. Yeah, so it's when you're trying to push the limits of human performance on these like really demanding movements, these plyometric, joint intensive, tendon intensive muscle ups.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
tough.
I think at a certain age, certain things are, out of grasp to do. Unless you really, really devote your training sessions for that, then maybe you could condition yourself for that. But I still do feel like after a certain age, certain things, the time has passed.
I know it's not a you wake up one day, I feel old type of feeling. What age did you start to feel there was a bit longer to recover or things were a bit different?
I really can't say, because it happens every now and again. Like some days I'll go train with the guys and I know my performance. I know like my breaking points and I will feel it that day. And then other days I would just be I would just be the old Zeph. And I'll go home driving smiling like, yo, I still got it. So
You try and do that again and it's doesn't happen like it used to.
yeah, so I can't I can't remember can't remember what age I know like, yeah, I'm getting there. I can't really tell you.
Yeah, it's tricky to pinpoint because you don't do the same thing all the time with your workout. Like there's different stuff happening in your life, different transitions of, becoming a parent or if you take on a new responsibility at work, even with everything else the same, those different lifestyle factors, it's like it can confuse whether that's due to aging or a combination of those factors too.
Yes, that's definitely played a factor because also too it when I got kids or have kids, it made me less risky. I think more now and I manage my time more. So I take less risks now. I, I'm not as hungry as I used to be with the kids. They age me.
I think that's nature's way of doing that because, yeah, I'm turning 32 next month. And yeah, if I compare even now what I'm doing versus what I was doing when I was like 20, it's noticeable. That's why we don't see elite athletes that are, say, in their late 30s, just absolutely competing with the youth to the max.
Yeah, yeah. As much as I would like to, like, my pride like wants me
Yeah.
to compete and still do things. But reality, like, yeah, I can't, especially today, how they increased. Like, yo, these guys are doing 10 sets of 50s and oh man, it's just crazy. Like,
Yeah, I don't want people listening to this to be like, oh, using that as an excuse, getting older and all this stuff. It's just your standards have to change. You still set high standards for yourself. It's just they're realistic to your current circumstances. It's this delicate balance, isn't it, Zeph? It's not like I'm gonna go easy now because I'm past my peak. No, you're still gonna do the best you possibly can when you can, just not trying to compete with your peaked younger self
yes,
and like
yes,
the others that are peaked too.
yes, yes. If yeah, anyone who's seen this train with me, lately, they'll tell you like, yeah, I'm still there. I'm still very competitive. I still have enough there still. So it
Yeah.
hasn't really got to that point where I say, I'm just going to teach now and I'm just going to do moderate numbers. It's not there yet. So, you know, again, I can't really tell you the age because I'm still doing it. In my mind,
I
I'm
like that
still I'm
answer.
still I'm still the young guy. I'm still out there every day as much as I can. That is.
As I said before, it's the ultimate motivation when you're seeing people in their 40s and 50s still getting after it. Like you take away the reps, you see the effort, that's what gets me going.
Yes. And my goal, well, right now my goal is to be able to do the BBRs at 50 and to do a 50 clip at 50. So I got 3 more years. 3 more years till to that. But that's what I really want to do. I really want to be able to do 50 pull-ups at 50 and I want to do a BBR at 50. I know that it's not going to be gold standard. I know that, but it will be unbroken. The form will be good, but I know I'm going to get that. That's my goal as far as calisthenics goal. That's one of my goals right there.
I'm really excited to see that video. It's going to be a great celebration of a lifetime of dedication to the craft for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. A 50 at 50 and a BBR at 50. Because I get asked that all the time. Who's the oldest person to complete a BBR? And so that lets me know that people are still trying, at all ages, and they're still motivated. And again, that's how I filter out a lot of people. It shows their dedication because it's not an overnight thing to accomplish a BBR. So by you being able to complete a BBR, it shows me a lot about you and how serious you take calisthenics.
For sure. Now, with a lot of your training is, circuit style fashion. You don't just do one exercise, rest, do the same exercise. You're often cycling through different exercises in a circuit fashion. What are the benefits of working out in this way?
The endurance building. Um, the routines change every day. You understand? Because again, I try to make it fun. If I do the same thing I did yesterday, I'll get bored and it'll turn into work. So what I notice, it helps with my endurance. It helps with my heart rate. It helps me still be able to build muscle at this stage. Because people always ask me still, like, do you use weights? Do you use supplements? And no, I don't. So I would say that's the huge benefit of it. It keeps you young.
Are most of your circuits opposing muscle groups? Are you going from like a pull to a push to a pull to a push?
I won't say most. Hmm. Matter of fact, I would say most because the buyout, that's what I call the routine. It's usually 30 pull-ups and you double the floor and you go down by fives. So right now we do 40 pull-ups and 80 push-ups. And that's a day that I don't feel like doing anything, or a light day, like, oh, I don't have time, or I don't feel like doing any other type of routine. That's always the go-to, and that works to help maintain and even build. So I would say is mainly pull and push. But most of the time I would do a push and push, which is dips and push-ups. And same thing with the pulls, alternate grips, but the same pull-up, the same numbers, but change the grip.
What would you say is one of your all-time favorite circuits that you do, combining pull and push, like from start to end, that someone could follow as a challenge?
The buyout, that's guaranteed. That's the best one to do. 30 pull-ups, 60 push-ups, 25 pull-ups, 50 push-ups, all the way down. And is ways to modify it. When you get to 10, you can speed it up and do it by ones. But that's the best. I could live off of that routine. Say I won't do any other routine for months. I could just survive off of that and still build muscle and stay in shape with that routine alone.
It's basic and comprehensive.
Yes, and you could just do that and go home and you're good for the day. And again, you can modify by making the form extra strict. You could modify by doing it for time. So many different ways. That simple routine right there. So I would say that is my favorite right now.
I really like that you made that distinction there, because on the outside looking in, there's not that many exercises that we're doing. Pull-ups, push-ups, dips, for the most part, they're the primary exercises. But even within that one thing, you can change tempo, as you said, change rest times. You can use timer. You can go for total reps. You can use the pyramids, as you said, as another example. Even with those combinations, I'm sure the mad scientist in you, Zef, is always calculating different routines and coming up with
Yes,
fun
yes,
stuff.
yes, definitely. I modified that routine so many different times. I could write a book on just the buyout, just that simple routine. I modified that simple routine so many different times. to make it more challenging and more difficult. But yeah, another thing also that is my favorite right now is I call it burpees out of respect, but it's really not a burpee. And it's just the two push-ups, stand up, two push-ups, stand up. I really, it's not a burpee because we don't jump or our legs isn't flared. So I really don't call it a burpee. Is mainly focusing on the push-ups. And like I said, that's how I started with calisthenics, was doing the pyramids, like strictly with calisthenics. So to me, it's like going back in time, just doing two push-ups, stand up, two push-ups, stand up. So I do that now for cardio, and I try to keep it 3 second pace, and do it for 10 minutes, 7 minutes minimum. So that's I forgot how much. I think it's 140 for 7 minutes, 140 burpees, 280 push-ups. I could be off with the math, but
Yeah.
that's my favorite right now. Every year it changes. I have a new routine that I just love doing. But right now that one is a good one.
It's such a different approach to conventional working out. People think they have to follow the same routine for 6+ weeks. You've got to progress in the exact same structure. Every day has to be the exact same. And it's no surprise that people get burnt out, bored, and stop working out. It just seems so obvious to me now why I enjoyed training so much when I first got into it as a 17-year-old, because I wasn't doing the same thing every time. I was like employing that barbarian philosophy of just, you're doing all the basic concepts. You're working hard. You're using good technique. You're pushing yourself to the limit. You're doing it regularly, but in different ways. I'm challenging myself in a pull-up like this. Then the next workout, I'm doing it with holds. Then afterwards, I'm doing my pull-ups when I'm fatigued in a circuit fashion. It really is endless with these bodyweight basics.
Yes, it definitely is endless. It's definitely endless. Like I said, I remixed that routine so many different times to the point that I forgot.
What was the original?
That was the original. What I said, that's the original. Then it changed to after the 30 pulls, 30-second hold, then the push-ups. Then it turned into a battle situation where your partner is holding while you do the push-up, the pulls, and vice versa. Someone is holding in a plank while you do your pulls, and you alternate that way. It's
Yeah.
so many different ways.
Can you expand on that a bit further with those isometric holds? How do you introduce those into training?
With ISOs, I would say a beginner also can use the ISOs to me, because what really helps get that extra rep for me is being able to rest on the bar. If you think about like my old videos, I used to be on the bar for like a minute plus, and that's from being able to dead hang and rest on the bar. So what I would tell, beginners, if you could rest on the bar and you're able to hold on the bar long enough, then you're able to push yourself to get that last rep. And that's that last rep that makes you stronger. And for the people that can't do the pull, I would suggest doing the holds and gradually lower yourself until you're able to reverse that. So the basic beginner, always suggest the holds for them, especially the planks.
Do you add those holds at the joints being straight or under tension? Or
Under
both?
tension. Under tension.
Under tension.
Both.
Okay.
Actually, both. That's another routine, dead man hang. That's with no
Too many
tension.
routines, Zef.
Yeah.
No, it's all good.
Tension, always with the tension.
It seems as if grip strength is one of the limiting factors. It's not spoken much about when it comes to, say, pull-ups, for example. But yeah, if it just makes sense, your ability to stay on the bar longer is going to help you to do more reps. And the same thing applies across the board. Like a beginner trying to do their first pull-up, they've likely got a very weak grip. And that's a connection to the back and allows you to do the rep. The same thing happens to people that are more advanced trying to do a one-arm pull-up. They often can't hold the bar for 30, 45, 60 seconds, and they think they can do a one-arm pull-up,
Yeah.
but they're skipping that weak link. So something to consider.
Yes, yes, definitely. That's something I stress. I stress that all the time. I have specific routines just for the dead hang for that reason.
What are some examples of that?
Oh, the dead hang, 5 seconds,
Yeah, yeah.
one pull up. 10 seconds, two pull ups.
Oh, damn.
15 seconds, three pull ups. The pull ups go up to 11, and the holds, I mean, the dead hang goes from 30 back down to five. So it's a
Wow.
total of 3 minutes and 66 pull ups. Yeah, I think that's the total to complete everything. And the best I did that was with one break. I haven't seen no one do that yet with one break or with no breaks.
What were your forearms like after that? Could you feel your
Oh,
hands?
oh, exact. And the bar that I did that one with the no with the one break, it had it was like a grade. I call it a cheese grater bar. So
Oh, that knurling like a barbell almost, but even
yes,
more
yes,
intense.
yes, exactly. So the reason why I was able to do it because my hands was basically like carved in and graded. It became one with the bar.
You
So I
you had to
didn't
peel
want to let
yourself
go.
off afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't want to let go. So that's what made me dead hang that long. And up to this day, I haven't done that again. But yeah, that
Yeah, yeah.
routine, that's a staple routine to a standard routine, the dead man hang. One of my go-tos. It helps you recover too. Most people that's injured, that's the routine that they go to. Even back injuries. I had people tell me that it helped them. Just the dead hang alone help they back.
Yeah, yeah. The theme that I see with the way you approach training, Zeph, it's you see it as a challenge, and especially doing this around other people. Why is this something that fires you up so much?
It's just the competitive nature that I grew up with. I always was the smaller dude with my friends, and I would have friends of all ages, so I always would have to keep up with them. And again, it started with, like I said, skateboarding, BMX, freeze tag, basketball, you name it. It always been a competitive thing with me. So that transition into the calisthenics, even with the weights, when I train with the weights, it's the same type of routines that I do with the calisthenics. So it always been competitive with me, and that's what like really pushes me, and that's why I have to work out with younger guys.
For the people that are for the people that are thinking, yeah, I wish I could have others around me that are also working out. That'd be awesome. Don't use that as an excuse, because I had the exact same thing. Being in Australia, especially in the early days, calisthenics isn't really that popular. So I looked to the internet to find a community. And that's something I encourage everyone to do. Follow accounts on YouTube, Instagram that are a part of this life, and make connections, because you can still get this in some way online if you don't have it in person.
Yes, yes, definitely. I use my old videos to train with sometimes. Sometimes I don't have a partner. Like when I'm in Jamaica, I don't have a workout partner. So I would have to use my own videos and use that as my partner and alternate with that. Especially with
Interesting. Yeah,
especially with
yeah.
the burpee routine that I'm talking about. I would do it with myself. And it got to a point now where people will say, we can't keep up with Zeph pace. Zeph, well, my friend, same one, Mano, he said Zeph, he should bring a mirror to the park because only he could keep up with his own pace.
And that's what made you
But
think that.
yeah, so
That's
I
so
thought
cool.
about
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
like, you know what? I said, you're right. I might have to bring a mirror to do this because right now, like I would start with a partner when it comes to that, doing the two push-up burpees, and then they would like they can't keep up with my pace. So yeah, you can use videos to train with. You definitely could use it for motivation.
Not only within the workout, which I like that you've suggested as an option there, but also to review your personal best attempts. Like if you put a camera on yourself and say, I'm going to do my max number of pull-ups versus you just going there and trying yourself, chances are you're going to do more if you film yourself, because you've
Yes,
got
yes,
that competition, as you said there, that ego, which sometimes can be good to push you to your maximum and beyond. And it's also motivating for reflection too. If you're got a specific goal of trying to reach these numbers that Zef suggested for all the different basics, film yourself trying it, and then film yourself going for a max a month later. You'll
Yes.
it makes it more real, if that makes sense, right?
Yes. That's how 80% of my videos got made, just by that. Because, like I said, plenty of times, not everyone is available to work out with. Or sometimes I may have an idea of a routine or a goal. I wake up in the morning like, I'm going to do this today. Or the night before, I would think about it like, tomorrow I'm going to do this. I wake up in the morning, I'm going to do this. No one's there. I'm going to put the camera on me and record it. This way, I have to do it. And even if I don't do it, I could see where I messed up at and what I need to improve. But majority of the time, it got done and it got posted.
And it's so much fun sharing that with the other people that love this lifestyle too, with the calisthenics, because yeah, in the early days, Zef, me sharing it with my mate, Little Beastum, met in Debak, we were just both, on different sides of the world. He was in Europe, I was in Australia, both 17, 18. We're trying to get into this life and just pushing each other. And there's no way, I can say it with confidence, that I'd progress to the point I am if I wasn't surrounded by other people that were pushing as well. It's very difficult to do yourself.
Yes, the golden age. And I see Metin now and Adam Raw. They became like family men now, and it's so good to see when they make a post, man. It's very inspiring, knowing that they was way from back in the day.
To keep it going, that's it's key to be able to do it, still enjoy it, keep learning, try different things. It'd be such a shame to, get all this knowledge and then not keep doing it in some way. I think that's something that we, I guess, both relate there, Zef. It's we won't be the best in the world as time goes on, but it's sharing these lessons and the wisdom with the next generation, because calisthenics really did change my life in so many positive ways. Like, you've probably seen amongst those that are in the demographic there in New York, there's people that go down a certain path, maybe some that find fitness a hobby and interest. It's means a lot.
Yes, definitely. Longevity, man. I really pride myself on that, and I really pride myself on helping other people become stronger. That's, like you said, if you can't share it, is really pointless to me. You understand? It's one thing for me to become strong. I could be a freak, and I'm just able to do it. But to help someone become stronger or even better than me, that's when I find, joy in that.
For me, it was always the actions first. They speak really loud. And then you combine that with the principles that you're teaching. It's been incredible. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for what you've done for the community, the culture of calisthenics. You've transformed many people's lives. You've helped me, and I've gone on to help many people with FitnessFAQs. So
yes, I see, man.
Really appreciate you, Zef.
Yeah, likewise, man. Like I said, I appreciate you coming back and reaching out to me, man. It was great to see you when you visit. In that time we had pizza at Julian's. Yeah.
For people, so I first connected with Zef through Barbarians in 2009 when I started through the Barbarian forums. And then I had the privilege of connecting with him in 2019 when I visited the States. We hung out, had some New York pizza. It was a good time to talk shop.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Where can people find out your work if they want to learn what you're about?
Through my Patreon's /Zef Zakaveli, my IG, the real Zakaveli, my YouTube page, Zakaveli. Yeah, you just put Zakaveli, you'll find me. You just Google that, you'll find everything.
Do yourself a favor, guys. If you get the opportunity to go to a workshop taught by Zef, it's going to really teach you more than you could learn from any type of tutorial on the internet. So get a chance to work with this man if you can.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you, man.
Awesome. See you, Zef.